Hi there, welcome to the archives. It is rainy over here, so um, I just wanted to get on here and talk about masking. I asked Gemini AI, what is masking? Why do people do it? Um, and so basically, it was saying that masking within a psychological context is when we hide or suppress our true selves. And this could be our emotions that we're actually feeling, maybe who we really are in terms of our personality traits, our behaviors, and symptoms in order to fit in. And we do this to gain social acceptance, to feel safe. It's a coping mechanism that is done both consciously and unconsciously. And so it says while most people engage in a certain level of reputation management, for instance, being polite at a job interview or professional at work, masking is deeper and it's more constant and it takes more effort. It involves concealing core aspects of our identities, that we perceive maybe as not okay, as not as acceptable. And we do that in order to survive, right? Or to belong. And so people mask for a lot of different reasons, right? Social acceptance and belonging. Um, Fundamentally, humans need to survive. I saw an interview clip of Dr. Gabor Mate recently talking about the need to belong, right? It is a powerful motivator for masking. People may mask to avoid social rejection, to make friends, or to form relationships. This can manifest in different ways, right? So we might hide our interests or opinions. We may pretend to enjoy activities that we don't care about just to fit into a group. Um, Mirroring other people's behavior. We might copy someone's body language or facial expressions, um, or communicate in a style that may be similar to theirs, right? I definitely grew up doing a lot of this, like paying attention to how people move and then being like, okay, this is acceptable, this is what I need to do. We can fake positive emotions, right? Putting on a happy face, I'm fine, even when we're not, right? Even when we're struggling with internal distress or whatever. And often that's, and all of us do that, right? You might be having a bad day and somebody asks how you're doing. You're like, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" Right? It's just, it's also societal. Um, we might do it to avoid stigma and discrimination. So, masking as a protective measure against like prejudice or negative stereotypes. This is obviously very true for those who are from like oppressed or marginalized groups, or those who might have hidden disabilities, or mental health conditions that society deems unacceptable or stigmatizes, right? And so, for instance, autistic people or those with ADHD might find themselves masking their natural traits, right? Stimming, like if you're somebody who stims, um, you know, uh, you might sit, right? Just to be quote unquote normal, um, whatever that means. And we know what that means, and that's usually, I'm not going to get into that here, but to appear neurotypical, although I take issue with like, anyways. So this is often learned behavior. It starts in childhood, usually to avoid punishment, to again be accepted by our care providers, our teachers, our friends, right? To avoid judgment and bullying. We don't want to be seen as different, and so we just pay attention to how others do, and then we just get in line. Again, it might be we might mask because people judge mental health illnesses, right? And we don't want to be seen as weak or unstable or ticking time bomb, or what all of these different sanest mentalities that people have, right? We might, if you know, if you're queer, you might mask your gender identity, um, just to again fit in, right? There's also economic reasons that people might do it, to get a career, for instance. You have to present a certain way to get a particular job or to get a promotion, to be taken seriously, right? If you're more of a like a lackadaisical and not a serious person in the work environment, you may be more serious because you know that that's what you need to do to get the job done to get that paycheck. Learning different communication styles that might be out of character for you. If you're an introvert, learning to be more extroverted again to fit in, to get a job, for instance. And this can have impact, right? It's exhausting. It is exhausting, which is why I wanted to do the video because I was like, I remember today how exhausting masking can be, especially for those who are already struggling with like mental health challenges, like pretending not to know stuff or um, putting on a show, right? Again, we all do that to some level and to some degree. But it can be really draining, right? To constantly monitor or suppress what you really have to say. Um, Sometimes it can feel like a loss of identity, right? If you're always doing things to fit in and you don't really feel like you can ever really be your authentic self, you might become something that you're not. This can happen sometimes in relationships, right? People be like, oh, I lost myself in a relationship, whatever that means for different people. And it can actually take a toll on your mental health, right? Um, it could be very stressful. It can induce anxiety, depression. You may get low self-esteem because you don't feel like you're good enough, right? The shame of having to perform because who you are is not seen as socially acceptable. And it can also lead to imposter syndrome, although people have argued that imposter syndrome is not actually really a thing. It depends, right? But always feeling like you're going to be like found out can really be exhausting as well too. Um, so those are some of the things I wanted to share around masking. Uh, and for those who choose not to, I know a lot more people are like, I just refuse to mask, right? That could be really hard uh, in relationships and job interviews. For me, sometimes when I get in certain situations, I choose specifically not to mask because if this is something that, especially if I want it to be long term, like a job or a relationship, right? If this is somebody that I say I want to be with long term, if this is a job that I want to be long term, I have a really hard time masking in the interview process, for instance, because my brain, how it works is just like, let me show you exactly who I am, and then you get to decide whether you want me or not, right? And often that's not how most people do job interviews. You're supposed to put on a mask, show them, get the job, get your foot in the door, right? Get your foot in the door by any means possible. Get that person to go on a second date with you. Put your best foot forward. Just get your foot in the door. And my thing is, why would I want my foot in the door if you don't want me as I am authentically and I have to bend and like contort myself and do all of these things just to fit in, right? And that's not everybody's approach, and I wouldn't recommend that actually, right? A lot of recruiters just would not recommend that. Don't ask the difficult questions at that job interview. I'm asking the difficult questions at the job interview because if me asking this difficult question is gonna not get me hired, then I don't want to get hired then because I won't be able to ask a question even when I am hired because that's going to be exhausting for me, right? And so it could be really difficult when people choose not to mask anymore. You will lose friends. You probably won't get the job opportunities. But at the end of the day, you can live more authentically yourself. You could be more free. Um, and that might be the way to not having to deal with certain mental health challenges, stress, anxiety, all of that of like being found out. It might just be worth it for some people, right? Because what is the point in doing all of these things, performing and trying to get these people to be your friends if after they become your friend, you can't even be yourself? Now, our friendship is based on a mask that I was wearing, on somebody I wasn't even who I was. And I think that's familiar for a lot of people, right? You get to a certain point where you look around you and you're like, oh, I can't actually be myself with my friends. My friends actually don't know who I am. My family don't know who I am, right? Because I've been masking for so long just to get their acceptance and gain their love that like I don't even know who I am anymore. So lots of complications when it comes to masking, but I just wanted to kind of just touch on the topic really quickly because it's something that because I spend so much time alone, writing could be really solid, like a solitary thing. So when I do get out, today's somebody was like, you need to network, and that's what I've been thinking. Is like, I love networking, but at the same time, it can be exhausting because you have to sometimes be who you're not, right, to get something. And I don't know if I necessarily want to do that anymore at this big age. But again, you do have to be strategic in life, right? And also, some people really just cannot math. Or some autistic folks who like they just right. They just that's who they are, and that's who they are. And they it might never fit them into traditional roles in society. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share is talk about masking. Are you somebody who finds that you mask? What are some of the things you do to mask? How do you suppress certain things? Do you get exhausted? Do you set time that, maybe from 9 to 5 at my job I'll mask, but then when I get home, often Black folks talk about like code switching, right? How we speak at home might be different than how we speak at work or school, all of that. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to just what is what I've been thinking about today. I think it's the first day of fall today. Today's September 22nd. So, happy fall equinox. Here's to Q4, maybe whatever it is that we all need it to be. Whether you're locked in or not, I hope that this last quarter goes well for you. Okay, so until next time, in solidarity.